So Boss Man and I had a fabulous time at the air show, seeing the Blue Angels yesterday, actually. It was pretty cool. We got there and we were walking in and the one guy yelled out, "Hey, back 40 Firewood." And I was like, "Hey, how's it going?" And he actually was part of the crew working there, and they took me right up front to the front row and gave us chairs right in the front. So it was pretty cool. Actually, we had reserved seat tickets, and the reserved seating was first come, first serve, and we got there early. But we were right in the front row, and it was pretty, it gave some very good sights of the Blue Angels flying by, and man, those things are loud. But that was the awesome part of the show, is just hearing and feeling the roar of the Blue Angels. So anyhow, a few weeks ago, I did a video cutting up some logs down on the ground. And many of you said that I need to get a bucking platform or some type of way to get those logs up off the ground so that I didn't have to bend over or kneel down and cut them. Luckily, at the Firewood Frenzy, and I've seen this before when Wolfe Ridge first came out with this, but Wolfe Ridge had on display at the Firewood Frenzy one of their new, I guess, accessories. An accessory for the woodyard. And sometimes it's not always the big machines that you need to make things easier and to get the job done. Sometimes it's the smaller things, the accessories, that can really make a difference. So this right here is the Wolfe Ridge log stand. And what this thing will do is hold your log up off the ground as you buck it or cut it into pieces. Now with me cutting 5.5-inch rounds out of these little sticks, it will work with larger logs up to 12-inch diameter, and I believe up to like 8 feet long this thing will hold. They had a pretty big log in this thing on display at the Frenzy. So you put the log in, it's got these teeth that will grab and kind of put pressure on the log, and then your log just extends out and you're able to make your cuts without being on the ground and standing up. Now, when you put your log in, and if it's a small enough log that you can lift it up, it's probably best to put it at a little bit of an angle so that then when you drop it down and lock it in, it will be horizontal, just like that. So if I were to put this in straight or level going in, by the time these teeth would catch, it might be dropped down a little bit. So there you go. We have 3 teeth making contact against this bottom jagged plate, and the log is held in place right here. And now I can measure out and make my cuts right down the line. And then when I get down here, obviously that end piece I won't be able to, well, maybe I'll be able to, no, I won't be able to cut this side off. So I'll just have to take that out, maybe reposition it and finish making my, again, this is 5.5-inch cuts, strictly for back 40 mini firewood. And here's just a look at the teeth dug in. And those things get a pretty good grip. And then again, against that jagged plate on the bottom, this log is nice and firm in there. It's steady. I can push on it. It's not going to bounce around as I'm cutting it. I'm going to be using the perfect stick to measure my cuts, and with making cuts on a smaller diameter log like this, the one thing to keep in mind is I don't have to necessarily go down and make all of my marks. Like what I can do is I can just start my cut with this measured out. I think this chain needs to be touched up. 1 second. We are back with a new chain. Let's see if this cuts a little better. A little bit better. All right, I moved things over here because I was over there in the shadow, and the sun was casting a shadow, and I wasn't able to, I don't think it was coming across on camera very good. So I moved it over here in the light. All right, so I'm gonna put this thing in. Just get those fingers locked in. And I think I want to go a little bit further down. Maybe right there. All right, this piece has a slanted end, so I'm just gonna straighten up this. Make it a nice flush cut on the end. And there's another short piece, and I think what's easiest to get these out is you just tip them and slide them out the back. All right, one more log to go. This one's a little bit longer, so this will be a good test of this thing here. Nope, I want to get it a little bit. There we go. So going in at a little bit of an angle and then leveling off the log to lock it in, I think is a big advantage to making nice straight cuts. So if you're wondering how easy it is to move around the Wolfe Ridge log stand, it is not bad at all. As long as you are running a steel chainsaw, you should have no problem. If you're running a Husky, you might need an extra set of hands to move it around. But it's pretty lightweight, it's sturdy, it's built solid. So there are all the rounds, and again, the last log, or the last stick, it was, I don't know how many cuts, but it was way easier making all of those cuts on, with the log off the ground on this log stand. Way easier. So I will have a link down below to the Wolfe Ridge website where you can go over and check out the Wolfe Ridge log stand. Again, it's just one of those accessories for the wood yard. If you don't have a grapple, if you don't have a bucking table, if you don't have a place to cut up logs, and maybe you're only dealing with 6 to 10 inch diameter logs, 8 inches or 8 feet long, that you can pick up by hand, stick into the end of the log stand, and you're off bucking away, keeping your chain out of the dirt, not bending over. All of those things that everyone always looks to avoid doing when you are bucking logs up. You can avoid all that with something like the Wolfe Ridge log stand. I don't know, I think it worked out pretty well. I think it worked out cutting these smaller logs. It was a piece of cake, and besides having to change the chain on the saw, everything with the log stand worked great. So the next time I try this thing out, I think what I'll do is use some larger diameter logs, see how easy it is to maybe load either with like the forks, with like driving in at an angle and kind of turning into it, or possibly being able to lift the log up manually. I don't know about that, because some of the logs I have to buck up are kind of large. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll be doing that test here coming up shortly, but for now, I've got all these little mini rounds to turn into mini firewood.